Hey everybody, clearing. Oh, my voice cracked. Clearing. Okay, we are gonna dive into a Divine Masculine check-in. Just gonna look at what is it like for the Divine Masculines to be experiencing the journey at this time. What do they think about consciously as it relates to each of the aspects that I typically go into? So thank you, Divine Creator, higher selves of Divine Masculines that want to join us here. What is it we can see? How are you experiencing these connections, Divine Masculines? How are you thinking about the connection in general, consciously, and your counterpart? All the usual things. What are you feeling? What are you thinking about your feelings for this connection and your counterpart? What are you consciously wanting to manifest? What are you doing consciously towards these connections? I'm also going to pull cards to see what's hidden from the masculines, what they maybe don't understand or see from a broader perspective at this time about all the things. Also going to look at the challenges, the solutions, the direction, and what they would say to their feminine each step of the way here. I'm also going to get, what do the feminines need to do with the information at this time? Like what some advice would be for how to navigate or integrate what we're going to see here. And then also some big picture cards for anybody watching, whether you're masculine or feminine, regarding the journeys and what these developmental awarenesses are doing in the connections. Okay, how are the Divine Masculines consciously thinking of the connection in general? Knight of Pentacles. This is my like sheepish knight. He's kind of like, will you forgive me? Or, I keep messing this up. Or like, can we make some progress here? So they're wanting to earnestly contribute into this connection. They're not sure if you forgive them or know how sincere they are right now, feminines. Okay, masculines, what don't you see? That yes, okay, you are transcending the ways of the world, the American dream. This is my American dream card. In the inverse, I'm taking it the way I read the cards for the divine counterparts aligned readings. This is talking about exceeding that, like more abundance in every way, more emotional satisfaction, more sensual pleasure, more financial abundance, more than you thought you could access. So this earnesty, this desire to actually be present in these connections is blowing the old sort of good on paper survival template ideas out of the water. What would the masculines say? I need time for me. Yeah, masculines are integrating this stuff and contributing to it in their own way diligently here. So whatever they're up to that is investing in self, learning, expanding their finances, whatever they're doing right now, they do need this time to set a foundation. This is a 4 card, which is a foundational number. What do the feminines need to see about this? Judgment. I understand that everyone has their own unique path and challenges. So yeah, masculines are needing this time, feminines. And so you are being advised here not to have judgment, but to definitely, when you feel like you're going to judge or point blame or feel victimized or have a bad attitude, this is a reminder that your masculine is working on the things that they need to come through their challenges, but they're also exceeding your expectations, their expectations, the worldly expectations. And they're doing something really interesting over there that you don't know about. And so don't be judgmental, because it's far better than you can imagine from a lower vibrational standpoint. What's happening in the connections? Solitude, seclusion, grounding, and belonging. Yeah, both are finding their own sense of wholeness, own sense of belonging. And it's being done in solitude to some degree right now. There is a little bit of an energetic buffer between, but it's a developing incubation kind of energy. It's not necessarily negative. So don't feel like it's happening to you. It's happening for you. It's happening through you. What are the masculines conscious of regarding their divine feminine? Ooh, some anxiety is going away. There seems to be a cooling of that anxiety. Anxiety is when our head and heart are far out of alignment, either with what we're thinking or the situations we're putting ourselves into, the actions we're taking. If it's out of alignment really far, we're going to feel a lot of anxiety because that's our guidance system saying, danger, danger, go the other way. So the masculines are feeling far less anxiety. So that means they're bringing themselves into more of an alignment with what their heart is saying here. What do the masculines not see from the broader sense? The world, that this connection is going to offer them, you masculines, everything you could ever want in a partner. And once this anxiety is satisfied, you will have your eyes open to how this connection is the full picture. What would the masculines say about this anxiety and this big picture wholeness available here? I lie awake. So anxiety can be sleepless nights. So doesn't mean they're stewing about it. With the world, it is about like years worth of time, a decade of energy. But I think about our future. I lay awake thinking about our future. So they literally are going over everything and feeling into what they would ideally like to do with you, feminines. Divine feminines, I am a limitless being and I can manifest whatever I desire in this physical reality. So abundance, this is you also, divine feminines, knowing that there is an abundant, larger than the previous kind of American dream vision, that cookie cutter thing. There's something greater available here. So yeah, your masculine is very much feeling into the different potentials for the future, or opening to something that's beyond just the anxiety producing whatever they've been modeled in their upbringing or in society. They're going beyond that. They're rising above the ways of the world, the status quo, and they're looking at really innovative ways, creative solutions. And you're being asked to really go for those win-win visions as well, feminines. What is this doing for the connections? Divinity, honor, responsibility, and humility. Yeah, temple of perfected essence. So these connections are, we saw in yesterday's reading, they're bringing in true love. It's truing the love. And this is the process of accountability, but living that divinity through humility and letting it be our sacred responsibility to channel in these higher love ways of navigating relationship, life, love, creative solutions, dropping the judgment, overcoming the fear, not being in that ego survivor mentality or survival mentality, but really bringing these things into the level of thriving. What can we see about how the masculines are conscious about the heart space here? The Chariot. Okay, in the inverse, this means they know on their heart it's not time to fully move forward unless the two are on the same page. What is the bigger picture here? The Lovers. So yeah, moving forward goes hand in hand with how much of this higher wisdom we can assimilate. As we're living that Tao, it moves it forward. The Wheel of Fortune spins. As we pick up on these nudges, these intuitive awarenesses about what love really is, it's bit by bit moving this thing forward. Snail's pace, but this is also, instead of deliberately driving this, it's happening anyways when we understand bits of loving instructions from the universe. It moves our union closer, it bridges the gap, it closes the gap. What would they say to you about all of this? You are right. So you are the right path for them, is what I'm hearing. And as they keep validating this, they keep being pulled towards, they keep manifesting this with you, feminines. What can we see for the Divine Feminine's fear? I realize that I'm testing my resolve to live in the energy of love. Yeah, so this is a journey of, every time there's something questionable, every time there's something of a pause or something ambiguous, it's about, seeing the fear interpretation, but also opting for that loving interpretation of what's actually going on. We're so hardwired in survival templates to just go straight for the worst case scenario sometimes. And this journey teaches us to consider that worst case scenario might not be the truth or might not be the only option. And it teaches us repeatedly to opt in and also consider that path of love. And when we see the fear and the love and we go towards the love, our journeys get moving again. When we hold up in the fear, we stagnate. So it's now becoming more and more up to us to manifest that which we want to see. Because as soon as we in our hearts accept that and go towards it, we validate that, we do move our journeys forward. It's when we're in fear that no matter what we do, it's not going to bring progress. Or it could just worse, fester in indecision and cycling like that. We have to look for the loving pathway, the potential. And a lot of times we're not able to see it yet. This journey brings us into being somebody that can see things that way. Whereas prior, we might not have been so good at seeing those possibilities rather than the limitations. What is this doing for the connections? Spiritualization of matter and reflected light. Yeah, we're learning to see the light reflected in each other, not just the limitations. Exactly. What can we see for the masculines viewing their feminine? What are they conscious of? The world in the inverse. So they know you have something still to take accountability for and to close out a cycle on. They're waiting for you, essentially, feminines. What do they not see? Princess of Swords. That they also have things internally that have been not yet balanced fully. What would they say to the feminines? You matter, but they're realizing they matter. So just like the feminines have had a tendency to point the finger at the masculines that they're not coming forward, that they're not out of their karma situation, the masculines are realizing that they've been doing that to the feminines, and they also have to look at themselves first person. What do the feminines need to know? Balance. I bring a state of perfect harmony into my world, and I do so without judgment. Okay, so we saw judgment to begin with, and now progression to this balance after dropping the judgment. So internally right now, drop the judgment, feminines, bring yourself back into balance. It's fictitious that we have to subscribe to the stuff out there. We can just come in and say, okay, regardless of what's happening out there, where am I at? What do I need? Where am I perceiving? Is that accurate? Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind to interpret what I'm interpreting that way? What is this doing for the connections? Sophistication, ingenuity, originality, elegance. It's bringing in a finesse. It's bringing in the glory of love, I just heard. So it's making us masterful. And so we really do revel in the little things. We do revel in the sophistication, the nuance, the subtle. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps in the middle of my back for that. My angel wings are flapping because, we transcend. When we transcend the huge speed bumps in the journey, we start getting into the luscious stuff, the delicious stuff, the delectable stuff. And so, yeah, it feels like we're getting into that nuanced place that's much more lighthearted, much more joyful, much more productive, much more velvety texture. It's not so gross, black and white, all or nothing, one or the other. It's not so definitive like that. It's more flowy. What can we see for manifestations the masculines want to take? Hierophant. Whoa, so they just want to keep following higher guidance. They're consciously tuning in, praying, asking, acting on what they're guided, what they're getting, downloads, transmissions from the divine. What don't they see? That their heart is being opened by this, that they're developing faith, that they're continuing to deviate from the previous norm, and they're opening their heart, they're opening to life. What would they say to the feminines? You are wrong. I just heard you are wrong. I am changing. I am growing. It's not over. What do the feminines need to know about that? Guilt. I release any beliefs that no longer assist in my soul's growth. So this belief that you projected, you don't love me, you're never going to come forward, you're never going to heal, you're not conscious, anything that you've ever thought against your masculine about them not being the one. This is for true divine counterparts. I'm not, you alone are discerning enough to know if you're in an aligned divine connection or if it's karmic. And if you don't know, this journey will teach you, because this is a journey of mastery. Stay with it. Be open, be curious. But this is saying, feminines, it's time to release any of those negative projections that you're putting out there onto your person. Your person is saying you're wrong. The proof is here. I am aligning with the higher. I am opening my heart. I am showing up differently. I am showing up more correct. What's happening in the energy in general? Freedom, sensitivity, beauty, and sensuality. So things are starting to become much more pleasurable. What can we see for the actions the masculines are conscious of taking? Oh, the High Priestess. So they are measuring the downloads they get from their connection to source and witnessing where you're at with those things. They are seeing ideal counterparts, energetic, spiritual, masterful counterparts in alignment. They see you navigating as a feminine counterpart to this masculine movement that they're being guided. So yeah, amazing divine masculines. What don't the masculines see about this? The devil, that it's been there all along is what I just heard, that it's been evident, that it's been so palpable, hidden in plain sight. So devil energies tend to cloak the reality of things, the energetic truth. They tend to be a smoke show, smoke screen for the truth. And so, yeah, the masculines, what you don't see, masculines, is that your heart and soul being put into this journey is now revealing something that was always there if you had had eyes to see. And that this devil has been trying to stop you from seeing it all along. The devil energies try to, flip-flop what we're seeing until it's like gaslighting or clouding, opposite state, kind of energy. It looks like what you don't see is there's been a lot of resistance so that you can learn to cultivate accuracy and clear sentience, so that you can see what's there, so you don't need anybody to prove the love to you. What would the masculines say about this? You already know. So they did already know. This is an inside job. When it's in the inverse, it's like a self-affirmation. So the masculines did already know that you were their high priestess, but those devil energies got the best of you. Hey, masculines. And it happens to the feminines. We go into dips as well. What do the feminines need to know about this? Gratitude. I'm thankful for this life and the opportunities it presents. So even if it's been difficult, even if it's been hard to see through those devil energy illusions and see the fact that both have been highly conscious, highly aware, highly in love with their counterpart, gratitude is one of those energies that help us be thankful for all of it, the whole journey, the contrast, the teaching, the experience. What is happening in the connections in general? Artistry, expression, community, celebration. So this is a fine art. Loving is a fine art that is going to be on display in community so that it can inspire, and there can be a celebration of love and life in the world, across the world, amongst the people of the world. What can we see for the biggest challenge the masculines are aware of? Ooh, the devil in the inverse. So basically the biggest challenge is continuing to see the truth here, continuing to overcome those devil energies. What's the big picture for that? Including the ways they've acted out or misstepped because they were buying into the devil energies. So guilty conscience or remorse about the past, feeling shame about how they've conducted themselves or how they've treated the feminine, and, you know, continuing to stay brave and take full accountability for times when they've done things that they wouldn't do now, didn't know better. This is about forgiving themselves, forgiving other. What would they say to the feminines? Please give me time. I've never felt this way before. So it's really sinking in how unique your connection is. What do the feminines need to know? Freedom. I possess the power and the free will to create my own happiness. Yeah, so this is basically saying, forgive your masculine, for they know not what they have done. And that your happiness has always been an inside job. Your masculine and their behavior has never been something that was supposed to be or intended to cause you sadness. They are them on their unique journey, learning their unique lessons, learning how to overcome the devil, how to be more masterful with how they speak, what actions they take. And you have been learning the same for you. It's only on you. If you continue to engage in something or begin to engage in something that is not in your highest and best interest, it's on you to understand what you're getting into. It's on you to stay with it or withdraw your energy if it no longer feels right, etc., etc. Your freedom, your happiness is your responsibility. Your masculine is learning that the devil energies would say it's the other person or that it's happening to us. Those are both wrong. It's always happening through us for those who have eyes to see, and the other person is just on their journey. What is this doing in the connections? Reprogramming, transmutation, stabilization. So it's setting the right foundation here because we're withdrawing that blame, guilt, shame, victim, and we're bringing it back to first person thriving. When we do that, we bring in stability because we're no longer fragile inside at the mercy of external scenarios. We're stable. What can we see for the solution for the masculines regarding overcoming these devil energies? Knight of Swords. Masculines, you're being given the go-ahead to talk to your feminine about some of the insecurities and struggles that you've had. This is about letting the information out little bits at a time so that your feminine has more empathy, compassion for how deeply you've felt here. What do the masculines not see? That your feminine is very, very savvy, well-versed in energetic matters, and that you're safe to talk to them. They're not going to doubt you. You know, when you start talking about a secret and instead of somebody just listening and empathizing, they are shocked and offering advice and being skeptical about, you know, if you're actually aware of your secret. So yeah, your feminine isn't that kind. Your feminine understands energy. Your feminine is a safe space. What would the DM say? Oh, I'm a very jealous person. Okay, one moment. See the green there and the green on this feminine's dress? If your masculine opens up to you, divine feminines, it's a high honor. They don't want to open up to just anyone. They are a very true person, and they reserve that kind of emotional intimacy for the one. And so they have been, you know, holding back communication. They have been holding back the full communication because once they start treating you that way, they don't want to ever have anybody else fill your shoes, and they don't want to be replaced ever again. And so they're going to make sure that you're never going to betray them, that you're never going to, you know, use what they say against them. They're really getting the foundation in place before they go all in this way, especially with it confiding emotional things with you. There will be no more going back. They want you to know that. And it's not about being possessive or jealous. It's honor. it's respect, it's righteousness. And they are so pure, they are so divine that they only want to do that when they know that you've got each other's back. Kudos, masculines. What do the feminines need to know? I'm learning that endings are merely beginnings. So yeah, feminines, there's no such thing as death. It's just energy transferring in another form. And so in these connections, we go through cycles where all seems like it's lost. But if you find if you strike the right chord, again, the right harmonic frequency, you can always be back in connection. Once a connection for all of eternity, that connection is still there. Once you know somebody exists, that is always there again in the resonance, in the infinite, in your awareness. And so, yeah, just trust that any cycles that have come and gone are just cycles of learning. They're not finite, final endings. What is this doing in the connections? Angelic assistance, truth, salvation, and majesty. Okay, so if you've had endings and you can't pull through them, ask the angels to help. Ask to be shown how to redeem the situation. Salvation is another word for redemption. This is saying there are no true endings. There's always a redeeming approach that can be taken, but you may have to pray. You may have to go into meditation. You may have to open to the possibility of it in order for it to be illuminated to you. And so, yeah, that message about the masculines wanting to have a true love match, to come into such alignment that there will never be a need to feel like anything else would be superior. This is uncharted territory. It's a very rare connection where two people actually align on the deepest levels, and that it's not somewhat for show on the surface. What is the direction that the masculines want to consciously take this? The sun, they don't fully know right now. It has to do with averaging the energies between the two and this alchemical unfolding. They don't just have an agenda, feminines. They're open to what will come. They do have opinions. They do have preferences, but they don't have it all figured out. What is the big picture here? Yeah, the Chariot. They are moving this forward as the lessons are learned. What did we have with the Chariot before? I remember holding a couple cards up. I can't find it now. But yeah, there is just this, working it out behind the scenes and moving it bit by bit as it unfolds. What would they say to the feminines? Your family won't like me in the reverse. So masculines are starting to see that the families might be more on board with these connections than they thought before, but they're now wanting to invest in more crossover with families. So you might start to be introduced or introduce to children, to parents, to siblings. Like there's a opening up. Instead of this definite, your family won't like me, there's this third energy where the counterparts, in order to move forward and to see where it goes, looks like family is going to be start to come into the awareness of the connections in some shape or form. It seems to be expanding into more of the extended family here. What do the feminines need to know? Honesty. I can't always expect the truth from others, but I can expect it from myself. So just know where you stand. Bring your energy back to you. Take it back from, being overly concerned about what others and your masculine have to say or think or what they're expressing. Just really feel into your heart's knowing. That's going to always be your number one indicator of what the truth is. Just don't get into a manic, stressed, hyper kind of energy. If it feels like peace, if it feels clear, if there's a deep sense of knowing, then yes, acknowledge that, even if it defies logic. But if it's frazzled or too much of a stretch, or you're trying to convince yourself with it, take a deep breath and just say, I don't need to force it. I don't need to have it that way. I'm just going to stay with it and see what's going to be there, and just take that honest approach, feminines. What is the, oh, we got 2. What's happening in the connection? Crystal capacitor, storage, time released, focused force, and whimsy, fantasy, wonder. Okay, so there's a lot of creative solution coming through in the connections. There's something about the merging with family, getting to know each other's families, not knowing how things will all go, but really looking at each step of the way with honesty and open to creative experiences, solutions. It doesn't necessarily have to follow the cookie cutter rollout. It can have similarities, but you might find, especially on these journeys, that the things that would happen in normal standard relationships still happen in these, but they're in abstract or creative or obscure kind of ways. That if you were to write down a natural progression of a relationship on paper about the way society thinks it should happen, and then write these down, you might find that there are lots of markers that get crossed, but they come out of nowhere and they're not what you thought they would. But if they were simply on paper for aliens coming to Earth and had like true love and karmic relationships, there would still be human experiences in both box that you could relate, but the one that is in the divine one is going to be so unique and creative and unusual and life affirming and exciting and joyful and maybe random or heartfelt. And the other one is going to feel stiff and calculated and rigid and insecure and questioning and all of that. So, okay, many blessings, everyone. Bye for now.